Welcome, traveler. We're glad you're here. Every story you hear is made with care and passion. If you enjoy it, please like, subscribe, and check out the other adventures waiting for you on our channel. Your support means the world. Thank you. I still don't understand why we have to dress up for a retirement community, Eloise grumbled, adjusting the collar of her uncomfortably formal blazer. It's not like we're applying for cosmic mortgages. Image matters in interdimensional society, Paradox replied, their form currently resembling a distinguished professor made of swirling nebulae contained within a perfectly tailored suit. After the dimensional breach incident, they had maintained their multidimensional nature but seemed more grounded, having revealed their past connection to the architect and the shattering. The Twilight Continuum has standards. Former universe owners can be judgmental. Neem floated nearby, their crystalline form having rearranged itself into something approximating formal attire, facete shoulders and a boater-shaped cluster of memory crystals at what might generously be called a neck. I look professional, yes? Neem asked, rotating slowly. I accessed memories of 17 different formal dress codes and amalgamated them into this configuration. The quantum butterflies of Sirius B would find me quite appealing, though the nebula folk would consider this ensemble a declaration of mathematical war. You look fine, Neem, Eloise assured them, turning back to her compact mirror. After the revelation about the architect's attempts to reclaim her universe, she'd thrown herself into researching echo points and dimensional breaches. This visit to the cosmic retirement community was their best lead for understanding what they were up against. Remind me again why we can't just call them, she asked, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. The Twilight Continuum exists in a partially decoupled reality bubble, Paradox explained with their typical academic condescension. Conventional communication methods would be like trying to send a text message through pudding. Interdimensional pudding. With trust issues. Got it. Pudding doesn't take calls. Eloise sighed, slipping the mirror into her pocket. Well, I guess I'm as ready as I'll be. How do we get there? I've prepared the portal calculations, Paradox said, gesturing to a shimmering distortion already forming in Eloise's living room. The continuum allows visitors on alternate Tuesdays and during cosmic holidays. Today happens to be the anniversary of the first viable universe, so we qualify under the holiday exception. Eloise stepped toward the portal, which resembled a soap bubble that had been pressed into service as a lava lamp. This is safe, right? No chance of us materializing inside out or anything. 37% chance of minor temporal displacement, Neem offered helpfully. Less than 3% probability of dimensional inversion. Practically a guarantee of safe arrival. That's not as reassuring as you think it is, Eloise muttered, but stepped through the portal anyway. The journey felt like being gently folded through 17 dimensions simultaneously while being tickled by abstract concepts. When Eloise emerged on the other side, she found herself standing on what appeared to be a perfectly ordinary sidewalk in what could have been a perfectly ordinary retirement community. If ordinary retirement communities had buildings that floated gently 6 inches above the ground and residents who occasionally phased through solid matter. And a sky that displayed the history of the universe as a looping documentary with director's commentary. Welcome to the Twilight Continuum, Paradox announced, emerging from the portal behind her. Final retirement destination for those who have passed on the cosmic responsibility of universe ownership. Neem materialized last, their crystalline form immediately beginning to pulse with excitement. Oh. They've redecorated since the records in my archives. The central plaza used to be a non-Euclidean garden where the plants were actually mathematical proofs. This is much more suburban. Eloise took in the scene. Despite the floating buildings and impossible sky, there was something undeniably charming about the place. Former universe owners strolled along pathways, some appearing as humans of various ages, others as abstract concepts given temporary form, still others as beings composed of light or sound or something for which human languages had no descriptors. It's like a cosmic Florida, she remarked. An apt comparison, Paradox agreed. Though the residents here have significantly more power over reality than your average retiree. They've simply chosen to step back from active universal maintenance. As if on cue, a nearby building suddenly transformed from a sensible community center into a towering crystal spire, then into a giant teacup, before reluctantly shifting back to its original form. An announcement echoed through the community: reminder to all residents, please maintain agreed-upon reality parameters in communal spaces. Save your creative expressions for your private reality bubbles. Thank you. Let me guess, Eloise said, watching as an elderly-looking woman waved apologetically at the building she'd just transformed. That's going to be relevant to why we're here. Before Paradox could answer, they were approached by a being who seemed to exist simultaneously as a stern librarian and a supernova. The effect was both intimidating and oddly appropriate, like a school principal who could also erase your existence. You must be the current owner, the being said, extending what appeared to be both a hand and a solar flare. I am Director Pulsar, administrator of the Twilight Continuum. Your visit is timely, if not entirely welcome. Ah, nice to meet you, Eloise said, cautiously shaking the offered appendage, which felt like warm paper and stellar plasma at the same time. I'm Dr. Eloise Pendergast. These are my advisors, Paradox and Neem. Director Pulsar's gaze, simultaneously spectacles and astronomical event, turned to Paradox. Ah, yes. The runner. I see you finally found a universe owner with enough backbone to keep you in check. Paradox bristled, their nebulous form darkening. Director. Still maintaining the illusion of control, I see. Still hiding behind multiple dimensions rather than facing a single reality, I observe, Pulsar retorted. Okay. Eloise interrupted, stepping between them. I sense some history here, but we actually came seeking information about the architect and their reclamation attempts, Pulsar finished for her. Yes, we're aware. News travels faster than light in cosmic circles, especially bad news. They gestured for the group to follow. But we have a more immediate problem you might help us with, one that could be related to your investigation. As they followed Director Pulsar along pathways that helpfully rearranged themselves to their destination, Eloise noticed more reality fluctuations. A fountain suddenly became a pyramid of singing marshmallows before returning to normal. A garden briefly transformed into a collection of holiday ornaments where each bauble contained a tiny universe. What's happening here? She asked. Reality dementia, Pulsar said gravely. An unfortunate condition affecting some of our older residents. Their memories and residual cosmic powers intersect with current reality in unpredictable ways. Is that dangerous? Increasingly so. The condition has become more prevalent in recent months. We're experiencing reality fluctuations at 4 times the normal rate. Pulsar paused before a building labeled administrative nexus in letters that occasionally rearranged themselves into cosmic jokes. We believe it may be connected to the echo points you've been investigating. Inside the building, they entered a monitoring room where thousands of reality feeds displayed on screens made of what appeared to be solidified thought. Each screen showed a different area of the retirement community, many exhibiting concerning reality distortions. As you can see, Pulsar indicated the screens, the situation is deteriorating. The bingo hall has been particularly problematic. Eloise squinted at one screen showing what should have been a normal bingo game. Instead, the numbers had apparently developed sentience and were organizing a protest, holding tiny picket signs with slogans like "Number Rights Now" and 8-hour workday, no more infinite calling. The numbers are unionizing, she asked incredulously. Indeed, Pulsar sighed. They're demanding better working conditions, regular breaks, and disability insurance for when they're divided by 0. That's ridiculous, Paradox scoffed. Numbers don't experience division trauma. They simply become undefined. Tell that to the numbers, Pulsar retorted. They formed a surprisingly effective collective bargaining unit. Neem drifted closer to one of the screens, their crystalline form reflecting the images. Fascinating. This appears similar to the Great Concept Rebellion in the Crab Nebula, where abstract ideas gained sentience and overthrew their philosophers. Another screen showed a residential building where the doors had decided they preferred to be windows, and the windows were experimenting with being conceptual art. How can we help? Eloise asked, her scientific mind already analyzing the problem. This seems like something the community should be equipped to handle. Under normal circumstances, yes, Pulsar agreed. But these aren't normal circumstances. The frequency and intensity of these reality fluctuations correspond precisely with the emergence of echo points throughout the multiverse. We believe someone, likely your architect, is deliberately agitating the quantum memory states of former universe owners. To what end? Paradox asked, their form tensing visibly. Chaos, perhaps. Or distraction. Or Pulsar supernova aspect flared slightly, information extraction. Many of our residents have knowledge about universal systems that even the architect might find valuable. In their confused states, they may be unwittingly revealing cosmic secrets. Eloise considered this. So you need us to stabilize these reality fluctuations while we investigate the connection to the architect. Precisely, Pulsar confirmed. Your status as current universe owner gives you certain privileges here. And your scientific background might provide a fresh perspective on our problem. All right, Eloise nodded. Where do we start? Director Pulsar led them through the community, pointing out particularly troublesome areas of reality distortion. The dining hall had developed a menu that served emotions instead of food, leaving residents feeling literally full of themselves. The swimming pool had decided that water was too conventional and now contained liquid probability instead, causing swimmers to emerge either completely dry or as entirely different species. Most concerning was the central plaza, where a statue of the first universe owner now cycled through every possible form in existence, occasionally becoming things that hurt to look at directly. Our most severe case is here, Pulsar said, stopping before an elegant building with colonial architecture that periodically transformed into a Gothic cathedral and then a geodesic dome made of what appeared to be crystallized laughter. Former universe owner Serafina. One of our oldest residents. She owned a universe for over 12 million years before retiring. 12 million years. Eloise repeated, impressed. That's quite a tenure. Indeed. She developed extraordinary control over cosmic systems. However, her memory is now failing, and her reality projections are becoming increasingly unstable. As if on cue, the building's facade rippled and momentarily became a waterfall of mathematically perfect snowflakes, each containing a tiny symphony. She's in there? Eloise asked, gesturing to the ever-changing structure. Yes. I thought we might start with her, as the stabilization principles we develop could be applied to other residents. Inside, the building defied conventional interior design. Hallways extended into infinity before abruptly turning into cozy reading nooks. Staircases led to the same floor they started from, only somehow higher. Windows showed different time periods depending on which direction you approached them from. They found Serafina in what was sometimes a solarium and occasionally a replica of the Andromeda Galaxy's central black hole system. She appeared as an elderly woman with skin that contained moving constellations and hair that flowed like the cosmic background radiation. Visitors, she exclaimed, looking up from a book whose pages contained living stories that acted themselves out in miniature. How delightful! I so rarely get visitors from, where was it again? Reality, Pulsar supplied gently. These are from the current universe. Ah, yes, that one. Lovely place. I had a universe once, you know. So many stars. So many possibilities. Serafina's gaze drifted, and the room around them briefly became an ocean of liquid light. Did I feed the quasars today? They get so cranky when they're hungry. Miss Serafina, Eloise said, stepping forward. I'm Eloise Pendergast, the current owner of Universe Designation Continuum 7B92C1. Serafina's focus sharpened, the cosmic drift in her eyes momentarily clearing. The current owner? Oh my. It's been ages since I met a current owner. She looked Eloise up and down. You're so young. They get younger every cycle, don't they, Pulsar? Indeed, Serafina, Pulsar agreed. Dr. Pendergast is here because we're experiencing some reality stability issues in the community. Your expertise would be invaluable. Stability issues? Nonsense. Everything is perfectly. The room suddenly transformed into a meadow where the flowers sang opera, then just as quickly returned to normal. Oh. I see what you mean. Eloise sat down across from Serafina, her scientific mind already formulating hypotheses. Miss Serafina, when did you first notice these reality fluctuations? Notice them? My dear, I create them, Serafina said with a twinkle in her star-filled eyes. Although, they do seem to be getting away from me lately. Ever since those strange echoes started appearing. Eloise exchanged glances with Paradox. Echoes? Do you mean echo points? Places where reality seems edited. Yes, exactly. Little hiccups in the cosmic continuum. They've been disrupting my memory, I think. Or perhaps I'm disrupting them. Serafina frowned, causing a nearby lamp to turn into a philosophical concept and back again. It's becoming hard to tell the difference between what I remember and what's actually happening. While Eloise conversed with Serafina, Neem had drifted to a corner of the room where they seemed unusually still, their crystalline form pulsing slowly as if in deep concentration. Neem. Eloise called. Are you all right? I'm experiencing an unusual resonance, Neem replied, their voice distant. The memory patterns here are familiar. As if I've encountered them before, though I have no record of such an encounter. Serafina's gaze shifted to Neem, sudden recognition flooding her cosmic features. A memory construct. How fascinating. We used those in my day, though they were much less personable. Used them for what? Eloise asked, curiosity piqued. Universal maintenance, mostly. Recording cosmic events, preserving important data. Serafina waved a hand dismissively, accidentally turning a bookshelf into a collection of sentient hats. Oh, bother. See what I mean? No control anymore. Paradox, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. The echo points are affecting memory patterns. Not just Serafina's, but throughout the continuum. That's why reality is becoming unstable here. Precisely. Serafina nodded vigorously. Someone is tickling our memories. Prodding them. Looking for something. Director Pulsar crossed their librarian supernova arms. If the architect is behind this, they must be seeking specific information from former universe owners. But what? The original universal state, Paradox suggested. The blueprint for reality before cosmic evolution took its course. Eloise considered this. So it's not just my universe they want to reset, but potentially all of them? That would explain the multiverse-wide pattern of echo points. A cosmic do-over, Serafina mused. How unnecessarily dramatic. The universe is supposed to evolve. That's the whole point of the ownership system, fresh perspectives, new directions. As they spoke, more reality fluctuations rippled through the room. The walls briefly became transparent, showing other residents experiencing similar distortions. In the distance, the bingo hall appeared to be under siege by revolutionary number concepts. We need to stabilize these memory-based reality projections, Eloise said, her scientific problem-solving kicking into high gear. If the architect is agitating these memory patterns to extract information, we need to protect them while still allowing the residents to express their cosmic creativity. But how? Pulsar asked. We've tried conventional reality dampeners, but they're ineffective against such powerful former owners. Eloise stood up, pacing the room, which helpfully extended itself to give her more space. What if we created a memory anchor system? Something that could separate actual memories from reality projections, giving the residents a safe space to express their cosmic power without destabilizing shared spaces. Memory anchors. Serafina perked up. Like the old universal substrates we used to stabilize galactic formation. Similar principle, Eloise nodded. We create contained reality bubbles where you can safely project whatever you wish, while keeping communal spaces bound to a shared reality consensus. That might work, Pulsar said thoughtfully. But it would require significant universal authority to implement. More than I possess as administrator. But not more than a current universe owner has, Paradox pointed out, gesturing to Eloise. Especially one with a legitimate connection to universal systems. Eloise felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders once again. I'll need to interface directly with the Continuum's reality matrix. And I'll need information from as many former owners as possible about these echo points. A perfect arrangement, Serafina clapped her hands, accidentally turning her teacup into a miniature opera house. You help us stabilize our reality, and we help you understand what the architect is up to. I'll arrange for you to meet some of my friends, former owners with useful perspectives. As they left Serafina's ever-changing residence, Eloise noticed Neem lingering, still seemingly entranced by something in the room. Neem, she called again. Are you coming? Yes, of course, Neem replied, their crystalline form reluctantly pulling away from whatever had captured their attention. I was just remembering something I didn't know I had forgotten. Outside, the reality fluctuations were intensifying. The bingo hall was now hovering 6 feet above its foundation, surrounded by militant numbers demanding recognition of their inherent value beyond mere quantification. We'd better work quickly, Eloise muttered to Paradox. Before the entire retirement community turns into a cosmic abstract art exhibition. Paradox nodded, their form shifting nervously. There's someone else here I'd rather not meet, but I suspect we'll have no choice. Let me guess, Eloise sighed. Another complicated piece of your multidimensional past. My mentor, Paradox admitted reluctantly. The one who taught me about universal systems before the shattering. Great, Eloise said with forced cheerfulness. A chance for you to work through some cosmic baggage while we save reality. Multitasking at its finest. Director Pulsar led them toward the community center, which was currently flickering between its usual form and what appeared to be a council of singing quantum fluctuations engaged in passionate debate. First, Pulsar announced, you'll need to meet our engineering team. They can help implement your memory anchor system. Then we'll arrange meetings with key former owners who've reported echo point encounters. And the revolutionary numbers? Eloise asked, watching as the floating bingo hall now sported a banner reading Numerals Unite. You have nothing to lose but your place values. One problem at a time, Dr. Pendergast, Pulsar replied with the weariness of someone who had been managing cosmic crises for millennia. One problem at a time. The Twilight Continuum's engineering department turned out to be a warehouse filled with impossible gadgets, staffed by former universe owners who had channeled their cosmic creativity into invention rather than reality warping. After explaining her memory anchor concept, Eloise found herself surrounded by enthusiastic retired cosmic caretakers, each offering modifications based on their experiences. Reality bubbles are tricky, explained a former owner who appeared as a collection of geometrically perfect spheres arranged in a humanoid shape. Too rigid, and they stifle expression. Too flexible, and they leak into common spaces. What about a permeable membrane system, suggested another, who existed as a walking library where each book contained a different cosmic philosophy. Allow controlled bleed-through of only stable expressions. As the engineers debated technical specifications, Eloise found herself drawn to a quiet workshop in the corner, where a being composed entirely of carefully tended plants was constructing what appeared to be reality stabilizers from raw cosmic energy. Your approach has merit, the plant being said without looking up, their voice rustling like leaves in a gentle breeze. Memory anchors. Simple but elegant. Paradox, who had been floating nearby, suddenly froze. Their nebulous form contracted sharply, stars within them dimming as if in shock. Verdant, they whispered, the plant being looked up, photosynthetic awareness focusing on Paradox. Ah. The student returns. Though not as yourself, I see. Still hiding behind multiple dimensions. I'm not hiding, Paradox said defensively, though their form flickered anxiously. No? What would you call existing in 17 realities simultaneously if not avoidance of a single truth? Verdant's flowered head tilted, vine shifting in what might have been a disappointed gesture. Eloise looked between them, sensing the tension. I take it you two know each other. Verdant was my mentor, Paradox explained reluctantly. Before I became universe owner. Before the shattering. I taught this one everything they knew about cosmic systems, Verdant said, a vine gesturing toward Paradox. Not enough about responsibility, apparently. Paradox's form darkened further. You don't understand what happened. What I discovered, I understand running away, Verdant interrupted, flowers briefly closing as if in pain. I understand the consequences when a universe loses its owner without proper transition. The damage doesn't just heal, Paradox. It spreads. Okay, Eloise stepped between them. Clearly there's some cosmic baggage to unpack here, but can we focus on the current crisis first? Former owners are projecting unstable realities, and we suspect it's connected to the architect's reclamation plans. Verdant's attention shifted to Eloise, vines curling with interest. You're the current owner? Interesting. The Emporium chose well this time. I sense authentic concern for your universe's well-being. Thanks, I think, Eloise replied. Now about these memory anchors. Before she could continue, an alarm sounded throughout the community, a harmonious chime that somehow conveyed urgent concern. Reality breach in the central plaza, announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Containment failure imminent. All residents please initiate personal reality shields. The situation is deteriorating faster than anticipated, Verdant said, immediately gathering their half-finished stabilizers. We must act now. They hurried to the central plaza, where reality itself seemed to be having a nervous breakdown. The statue that had been cycling through forms was now simultaneously existing as every possible configuration, creating a visual paradox that made Eloise's head ache. Around it, former universe owners were attempting to maintain their own reality bubbles while chaos spread. Most concerning was the appearance of familiar distortions around the plaza's perimeter, the telltale signs of echo points forming. The architect is using the community's instability to create new access points, Paradox realized, their forms stretching protectively around Eloise. This isn't just memory degradation, it's deliberate infiltration. Director Pulsar materialized beside them, their supernova aspect flaring with alarm. The memory patterns of 17 former owners have become completely destabilized. They're projecting pure conceptual chaos. Where's Neem? Eloise suddenly asked, realizing her crystalline companion was missing. Last seen heading toward the community memory archive, Pulsar reported. Scene drawn to it. Eloise turned to Paradox and Verdant. You two start implementing the memory anchor system. Focus on containing the most severe reality projections first. I'll find Neem and check the archive. There might be something there about these echo points. You shouldn't go alone, Paradox protested. I'm universe owner, Eloise reminded them with confidence she'd gradually developed over months of cosmic crises. I'll be fine. You two have more history to work through anyway. Before Paradox could object further, she was moving through the chaos, using her connection to universal systems to create a stable path through the reality distortions. Around her, the retirement community was transforming in ways that defied description, buildings becoming sentient, pathways developing philosophical opinions, trees growing fruit that contained entire theological systems. The memory archive was housed in what appeared to be a normal library building, though it occasionally flickered into the form of a crystalline data structure similar to Neem's composition. Inside, Eloise found her companion interfacing directly with what looked like a fountain of liquid light at the center of the archive. Neem, she called cautiously. What are you doing? Neem's form was pulsing with intense light, fragments of their crystalline structure rearranging rapidly as they processed information from the archive. Eloise, they acknowledged without disconnecting from the fountain. I've discovered something concerning. What is it? These memory patterns, they're being systematically altered. Not just accessed or agitated, but specifically modified to remove certain information. What kind of information? References to something called the divergence. A cosmic event approximately 24 billion years ago when the architect apparently changed. Eloise moved closer, fascinated despite the urgency of their situation. Changed how? I cannot determine that precisely. The information has been too thoroughly redacted. but it appears to correlate with the creation of the Chronoflux Emporium and the beginning of the universe ownership system. Before Eloise could ask more questions, the building shuddered around them. Outside, the chaos was intensifying, reality distortion spreading like wildfire through the community. "We need to get back to the plaza," Eloise said urgently. "Paradox and Verdant are implementing the memory anchor system, but they'll need your knowledge of memory structures." Neem reluctantly disconnected from the archive fountain, their form stabilizing into its normal configuration. "There is another reason the architect may be targeting this community," they said as they followed Eloise outside. "Former universe owners collectively possess knowledge of universal systems that even the architect might not have access to. If they're planning a complete reset of reality, they'd want to understand every possible variable," Eloise finished the thought. "Which means extracting knowledge from those with the most experience." Back at the central plaza, they found Paradox and Verdant working in surprising harmony, their combined efforts creating a framework of stabilizing energy around the worst reality distortions. Other former owners had joined them, adding their expertise to the construction of memory anchors. "Ah, there you are," Verdant called when they spotted Eloise and Neem. "We've established the primary containment grid, but we need a universal authorization to activate the full system." Eloise nodded, stepping into the center of their framework. As universe owner, she'd learned to interface with cosmic systems intuitively. Now she reached for that connection, feeling the universe respond to her awareness. "The memory anchors need to separate creative expression from actual reality modification," she explained to the assembled former owners. "Each of you will maintain your own reality bubble where you can safely project whatever you wish, without affecting communal spaces." "And what about our memories?" asked a former owner who appeared as a collection of orbiting crystalline fragments similar to Neem but less cohesive. "The echo points are still disrupting them." "That's where I can assist," Neem offered, floating forward. "My structure is designed for memory preservation. I can create a buffering system to protect against external interference while maintaining full access to your experiences." With Neem's guidance, Eloise completed the memory anchor system, channeling her authority as universe owner to establish new reality protocols throughout the Twilight Continuum. Around them, the chaos gradually began to subside. Buildings stopped transforming randomly. The revolutionary numbers in the bingo hall reluctantly agreed to return to their non-sentient state in exchange for more thoughtful calling patterns and aesthetic appreciation of their unique prime factors. As stability returned, Eloise found herself surrounded by grateful former universe owners, each eager to share their experiences with echo points and the architect's apparent activities throughout the multiverse. "It started in my old universal sector first," reported a former owner who existed as a perfectly ordinary-looking elderly man except for the galaxy spiraling where his left eye should be. "Small adjustments to fundamental constants. Nothing catastrophic, just nudges back toward original parameters." "In mine, it was more aggressive," added another, who appeared as a walking collection of hourglasses containing different colored sands of time. Entire civilizations briefly phased out of existence before reappearing slightly altered. As if someone was testing reset protocols. "The pattern is clear," Director Pulsar concluded after they'd gathered sufficient reports. "The architect is systematically preparing for multiverse-wide reclamation, starting with gathering information from former owners." "But why now?" Eloise wondered. "The universe ownership system has existed for billions of years. What's changed?" It was Verdant who answered, their plant form rustling thoughtfully. "Evolution has accelerated. Universes have developed in ways the architect never intended. Consciousness has emerged in patterns that defy the original design. Perhaps they've reached a threshold of tolerance for deviation. Or perhaps, Paradox suggested, their form having stabilized somewhat after working with their former mentor, the architect has finally identified what they perceive as a flaw in the cosmic system, the element that caused realities to diverge from their perfect vision." "Which is?" Eloise prompted. "Free will," Verdant said simply. "The unpredictable element in any system. The variable that ensures no reality ever develops exactly as planned. As the Twilight Continuum settled into its new stability, Eloise found herself in a garden, or rather, what appeared to be a garden but was actually a physical manifestation of philosophical concepts, where each plant represented a different idea about existence. Verdant had invited her there for a private conversation, while Paradox and Neem helped finalize the memory anchor system. "Your Paradox was my most brilliant student," Verdant said as they tended to a flowering bush that somehow embodied the concept of possibility. "Gifted with mathematical insight few beings possess. But always impatient, always looking for shortcuts. They've been a useful guide, if sometimes annoyingly cryptic," Eloise admitted. "Though I get the sense they're still running from something." "Indeed." Verdant's leaves rustled with what might have been a sigh. The shattering was traumatic, but Paradox's reaction, fragmenting themselves across multiple dimensions, was an extreme form of avoidance. "I had hoped they would eventually face the consequences of their actions." "Working with me seems to be helping," Eloise suggested. "They're more present than before. Less likely to disappear into abstract mathematical concepts when conversations get uncomfortable." "Your influence, no doubt," Verdant agreed, pruning a vine that represented causality. "You ground them in practical reality, something I failed to do as their mentor." Eloise watched as the garden shifted subtly around them, the plants rearranging themselves to reflect the current flow of their conversation. "Can I ask you something direct? Do you think we can stop the architect's reclamation plan?" Verdant was quiet for a moment, photosynthetic awareness seemingly turned inward. "The architect created everything," they finally said. "The original universal systems, the ownership transfer protocols, even the chronoflux emporium itself. Their power is foundational." "That doesn't answer my question." "No, it doesn't," Verdant agreed. "Because the answer depends not on power but on legitimacy. The architect established a system of universal ownership and transfer. If they truly respect their own creation, they cannot simply override it without violating their own principles. So my legitimacy as universe owner is the key." "Your legitimacy, and your vision for cosmic stewardship," Verdant confirmed. "The architect created a perfect system, but perfection is static. Evolution requires imperfection, room for growth, change, unexpected beauty. That's why they created the Emporium in the first place, isn't it?" Eloise realized. "To allow for different perspectives on universal management." "Precisely. Though I suspect they never anticipated how far universes would diverge from their original design." Verdant gestured to a particularly vibrant plant that seemed to embody the concept of emergence. "The question is whether they will honor their own system, or attempt to override it in pursuit of their original vision." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Paradox, who approached with uncharacteristic directness. "We've completed the memory anchor implementation," they reported. "The community is stabilizing, and the echo points have been contained." "Excellent," Verdant said. "And have you taken the opportunity to properly apologize to your former mentor for abandoning your universe and causing a multidimensional catastrophe?" Paradox's form flickered uncomfortably. We've discussed the situation." "Discussed," Verdant repeated dryly. "How very clinical. What would you have me say?" Paradox demanded, their nebulous form darkening. "That I regret everything? That I wish I could undo the shattering? That I've spent thousands of years hiding across dimensions because I couldn't face what I'd done?" "That would be a start," Verdant replied calmly. To Eloise's surprise, Paradox's form began to consolidate, becoming less diffuse and more defined, not human, but more present than she'd ever seen them. "I am sorry," they said, their voice stripped of its usual condescension. "I was arrogant. I thought I could outmaneuver the architect with a dimensional shield. Instead, I shredded reality. And abandoned those who depended on me. I've been running ever since, existing across multiple dimensions to avoid facing a single truth." Verdant's plant form rustled in what might have been approval. "Acknowledgement is the first step toward redemption." "I don't seek redemption," Paradox said. "But I do seek to prevent another catastrophe. The architect's plans for reclamation must be stopped, or billions of evolving civilizations will be erased." Then we are aligned in purpose, if not in methodology, Verdant concluded. And that is progress enough for now. Eloise, who had watched this exchange with fascination, was about to speak when Director Pulsar appeared on the garden path, their supernova aspect noticeably dimmed. Dr. Pendergast, they said, we've gathered former owners with relevant experience regarding the architect. They're waiting in the community hall. Thank you, Eloise nodded, turning back to Verdant. Will you join us? I believe I will, the plant being replied. It's time I took a more active role in cosmic affairs again. In the community hall, now stably existing as a single architectural style rather than cycling through 17 simultaneously, Eloise found a diverse assembly of former universe owners. Some appeared humanoid, others as abstract concepts given temporary form, and still others defied conventional description altogether. The meme was already there, interfacing with various memory constructs similar to themselves but less evolved. Their crystalline form seemed to be downloading information, pulsing with new data patterns. Eloise, they greeted as she approached. I've been analyzing the collective experiences of former owners. The pattern of echo points forms a multidimensional network across all affected universes. Any insights about their purpose? She asked. They appear to be testing reality response parameters, measuring how much resistance different universal systems offer to fundamental adjustments. Director Pulsar called the gathering to order. Former universe owners, we are honored to host the current proprietor of Continuum 7B92C1. Dr. Pendergast has helped stabilize our community and now seeks information about the architect's reclamation attempts. A being who existed as what appeared to be a collection of perfectly aligned galactic superclusters spoke first. In my universal era, the architect was a creator, not a manager. They established systems then withdrew, allowing those systems to evolve naturally. When did that change? Eloise asked. Approximately 24 billion years ago, answered another former owner who manifested as an elderly professor with equations instead of skin. An event called the divergence occurred. The architect became preoccupied with order after that. Neem's crystalline structure pulsed with recognition. The same event mentioned in the redacted archive memories. The divergence was when universes began evolving beyond their initial parameters, explained a former owner who appeared as a walking library with books that read themselves. Some say it was the first true emergence of free will within cosmic systems. And the architect disapproved. Eloise guessed. Not initially, the library being replied. In fact, they created the Chronoflux Emporium and the ownership transfer system specifically to accommodate diversity of development. But something changed more recently. The architect appears to have reconsidered. Based on the pattern of echo points, paradox interjected, they are not just reconsidering, they are actively preparing for a multiverse-wide reset. The assembled former owners murmured with concern, causing brief reality fluctuations before their memory anchors stabilized. A former owner who existed as a swarm of luminous mathematical equations arranged in a humanoid shape raised what might have been a hand. I may have relevant information. During my ownership tenure, I detected a cosmic anomaly I called the original flaw, a fundamental inconsistency in universal construction that allowed for deviation from intended parameters. What kind of inconsistency? Eloise asked, her scientific curiosity piqued. Consciousness, the equation being answered simply. Specifically, the unpredictable emergence of self-awareness in systems designed merely for complexity. The ability of universes to not just evolve, but to become aware of their own evolution. That hardly seems like a flaw, Eloise objected. To us, no. But to a perfect designer seeking perfect implementation? The unpredictability of consciousness might represent the ultimate system failure. As the discussion continued, Eloise noticed Neem growing increasingly agitated, their crystalline form pulsing with unusual patterns. Finally, they drifted to the center of the gathering. I have access to partial memory reconstruction, they announced. The architect's reclamation attempts coincide with a specific pattern of universal evolution, the emergence of self-modifying systems. Universes developing the capacity to alter their own fundamental parameters without owner intervention. Is that possible? Eloise asked, surprised. Theoretically, paradox confirmed. A universe with sufficient complexity could develop emergent consciousness at the system level. Not unlike how biological brains emerge from neurons that individually lack awareness. A universe becoming conscious of itself, Eloise mused. That would certainly challenge the architect's control. And explain their sudden interest in reasserting original parameters, Verdant added. A self-aware universe might resist external reclamation. Director Pulsar, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. If this hypothesis is correct, the architect's interest in your universe, Dr. Pendergast, suggests it may be approaching this threshold of self-awareness. The implications were staggering. Eloise had been thinking of herself as protecting countless evolving civilizations within her universe. But what if she was also protecting the universe's own emerging consciousness? Before she could pursue this line of thought, a dramatic disturbance rattled the community hall. Despite the memory anchors, reality rippled around them as if something was forcing its way through dimensional barriers. In the center of the hall, a perfect geometric shape appeared, a hypercube that somehow existed in more dimensions than should be visible. Within it, a presence manifested, not fully physical, but undeniably powerful. The architect, whispered Verdant, their plant form trembling slightly. The presence didn't speak, at least not in conventional terms. Instead, it projected concepts directly into their awareness, observation, assessment, preliminary judgment. Then it focused on Eloise with an attention that felt like being examined at the subatomic level, current proprietor, unexpected variables, probability reassessment required. Just as suddenly as it had appeared, the manifestation collapsed in on itself and vanished, leaving the former owners in stunned silence. Well, Eloise said finally, I guess we got their attention. Paradox's form had contracted to its densest state. That wasn't a full manifestation. Merely a projection, a remote observation. They're studying you, Verdant told Eloise. Evaluating whether you represent a threat to their reclamation plans. Or an opportunity, suggested an elderly former owner who had remained quiet until now. They appeared as a being composed of quantum probability fields shaped into humanoid form. The architect doesn't violate their own systems. They seek workarounds. Meaning? Eloise prompted. Meaning they won't simply take your universe, that would violate the ownership protocols they established. Instead, they'll try to convince you to surrender it willingly, or manipulate circumstances to make your position untenable. As the former owners debated the significance of the architect's brief appearance, Eloise pulled Paradox and Neem aside. We need to return to Earth, she said quietly. If the architect is evaluating me specifically, I need to be prepared. Agreed, Paradox said. And we should investigate the possibility that your universe is developing self-modifying capabilities. That could explain why the architect is accelerating their plans now. Neem, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. There's something else you should know, Eloise. During my interface with the memory archive, I detected patterns, familiar patterns. What kind of patterns? Patterns similar to my own construction. I believe my creation may not have been as random as previously understood. Are you saying you were created by the architect? Eloise asked, surprised. Not exactly, Neem's crystalline form pulsed with uncertainty. But I may have been placed in your path deliberately. By whom and for what purpose, I cannot yet determine. Before Eloise could pursue this troubling revelation, Director Pulsar approached, accompanied by the quantum probability field being. Dr. Pendergast, Pulsar said formally, the Council of Former Owners wishes to express its gratitude for your assistance with our reality stabilization. As a token of appreciation, Elder Quantum here has an insight to share before your departure. The probability field being shifted closer, their form rippling with ancient wisdom. Young universe owner, you must understand that the Chronoflux Emporium does not select caretakers randomly. You were chosen specifically for qualities the universe requires at this critical juncture. What qualities? Eloise asked. I'm just a physicist who tripped over a cosmic responsibility. Precisely, Elder Quantum replied with a shimmer that might have been a smile. A scientific mind that questions, investigates, and adapts based on evidence. a perspective that values both empirical observation and the wonder of discovery. The universe chose you because you embody the very process of evolution the architect now questions, the beautiful uncertainty of growth through exploration. Eloise was silent for a moment, absorbing this perspective. So the universe itself had a say in who purchased it. The Emporium facilitates matches based on cosmic compatibility, Elder Quantum explained. When you entered that interdimensional shop, it wasn't mere chance. It was recognition. As they prepared to depart, various former owners approached to offer advice, warnings, and occasionally bizarre cosmic gifts. Verdant presented Paradox with a small potted plant that somehow embodied the concept of reconciliation. Serafina gave Eloise a paperweight that contained what appeared to be a perfectly preserved moment of universal creation. Most intriguing was the elderly former owner with the galaxy eye, who pulled Neem aside for a private conversation. When they rejoined the group, Neem's crystalline form was pulsing with what appeared to be confused excitement. What was that about? Eloise asked as they gathered for departure. He suggested that memory constructs like myself are more than simple archives, Neem replied thoughtfully. That we might represent a unique form of consciousness, one specifically evolved to bridge the gap between universal systems and individual awareness. Director Pulsar opened a portal back to Earth, the shimmering interface stabilizing into a clear view of Eloise's apartment. Remember, Pulsar said as they prepared to step through, the architect created the universe, but ownership conveys legitimate authority. They cannot simply take what is rightfully yours without violating their own fundamental principles. Unless I surrender it, Eloise noted. Indeed. Which is why they will likely focus on convincing you that their vision for the universe is superior to natural evolution. As they stepped through the portal and returned to Eloise's apartment, she found her coffee still warm on the kitchen counter, as if no time had passed during their interdimensional visit. Well, she said, picking up the mug, that was informative, if somewhat existentially terrifying. A universe potentially developing self-awareness, an original creator wanting to reset everything, and a mysterious shop that specifically chose me to prevent it. No pressure. Paradox, their form more stable than before their visit to the retirement community, drifted to Eloise's universe diagram whiteboard. We should update our echo point map with the new information. If the architect is targeting emergent self-modifying systems, we may be able to predict their next moves. Neem floated silently by the window, their crystalline form reflecting the night sky in unusual patterns. Neem. Eloise called. Are you okay? I am, processing, Neem replied distantly. The elder with the galaxy eye shared something troubling. He suggested that memory constructs like myself might have originated as fragments of the universe's own developing consciousness, crystallized aspects of cosmic awareness given independent existence. That would explain your unique abilities, Paradox observed. And your connection to universal memory systems, Eloise added. Yes, but it raises questions about my purpose, Neem continued, their forms still pulsing with uncertainty. If I am indeed a fragment of universal consciousness, was I created naturally, or manufactured? And if manufactured, by whom? The architect? The Chronoflux Emporium? Someone else entirely? Eloise approached her crystalline friend, placing a gentle hand near their hovering form. Whatever your origins, you're part of our team now. We'll figure this out together. Outside the window, stars twinkled in patterns that seemed almost deliberate, as if the universe itself was trying to communicate something important. Eloise's phone pinged with a notification, Universal Systems Alert, consciousness parameters evolving. New capabilities detected. Owner verification required. Well, she sighed, showing the screen to her companions, I guess we know what we're investigating next. Paradox's form shifted to something resembling determination. The universe is changing, becoming more self-aware. And the architect is running out of time to reset it to their original specifications. Which makes our job more urgent, Eloise concluded. Protecting not just the civilizations within the universe, but potentially the universe's own emerging consciousness. As if in response, her coffee mug briefly levitated before settling back on the counter, a small cosmic acknowledgement of the weight of responsibility now resting on their shoulders.